So how many of you are still have to join? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 are there. I think 3 more. Okay, but anyhow, we will take a start. So let me share the screen with you. Today's topic is Unit 21. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So Unit 21, planning an individual lesson or a sequence of lessons. So you have to
Yes.
understand it because it is part of the lesson planning which we discussed last week. All right. Answers of that we will discuss once we finish the class. So the previous lesson worksheet answers we will discuss. How do we, let me get my pointers. Right. How do we plan an individual lesson or a sequence of lessons? First of all, we try to understand what it is. When we plan an individual lesson, we think about its aims. Aims are very much clear to us. We discussed in Unit 19. How to achieve them, the shape of the lesson, the kind of techniques that are most appropriate for a particular group of learners. So aims is the first thing which we focus on when we are planning a lesson. And then we lay down procedures how to achieve those aims. And the type of learners we have got, age-wise, the lesson planning is different. That's what they are talking about. For example, if we are introducing a new grammatical structure, we might choose a presentation, practice, and production, PPP approach. Remind yourself the approaches which we discussed in module 1. The main one was their PPP approach, and the other one is TBL, task-based learning, or a task-based learning TBL approach. Skills lessons to have regular shapes that we can use to organize lesson plans. For example, skill-based reading, writing, listening, and speaking. For receptive skills, which is obvious, the receptive skill which comes to us, like reading and listening. We usually plan tasks or activities for learners to do before, while, and after reading or listening. So we plan to do what kind of activities or tasks they have to do before, during, and after the lessons. For productive skills, productive are writing and speaking. There is usually an introductory stage to set the scene. Set the scene means to explain the context, that what's going on. There is a marketplace, there are some people talking, or what's the situation? And maybe input new language and a feedback stage after the speaking or writing activity. Input new language, where you introduce some new language they need to practice there. And feedback that how they perform during that writing and speaking activity. Okay. So this is what, is this clear? Some of the things, not some, maximum of the things which we discuss over here, aims and how to achieve it, plus grammatical structure, presentation, practice, production approach, PPP, TBL approach, skills lessons. Skill lessons are based on the 4 skills of the language, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Then they tell us that PPP approach is for what, PBL approach is for what type of activities, and we do that. So I hope, because this is kind of just they are giving you a reminder of the previous things, and now we are going to relate it further with the planning of lesson. So second paragraph, we also think about connection between the aims of the lesson and the procedure. Connection between the aim of the lesson and the procedure. In a lesson, the aim is what you are supposed to teach. So the aim of the lesson should be very clear. You are teaching present simple tense, okay? You are teaching passive voice, or you are teaching nouns and adjectives. What are you teaching? So what you want them to learn in it, that's the aim. Procedure, the way they have to follow up the steps in order to achieve the aims. We used to achieve those aims, as well as answer to the other background components mentioned in Unit 20. The available materials, the length of lesson, and the information we have about our learners all help us to identify possible procedures. Now, in order to find out the procedure, because for each lesson plan, for each class, for each type of learners, you will have different procedure of teaching a topic. When you are teaching a grammatical topic, whatever it is, at different levels of the language, the students are primary one, lower secondary, secondary, after O level, A levels, or the adults. So it differs the way you have to teach. There are a lot of activities and exercises and tasks which you will not be doing with the adult learners, which you do with the school learners. All right, so that's what it differs. Now, here what we see, the available material. What are the material available for you in order to teach that particular lesson plan, according to make a lesson plan and teach? So when you are working in a school, already you have some material plus supplementary material you add from your side in it. So the available material, the length of the lesson, how long it should be, and the information we have about our learners all help us. These three things help us to identify possible procedure. It will help us that what is the possible procedure when we know the material available, we know about the learners, okay, and the time available. We have to finish it in 6 months time, 4 months time, okay, how many classes are available, all these calculations, then you can lay down the procedure for that. But the most important thing is to make sure that the materials, tasks, and activities we select are the ones that will help a particular group of learners to achieve the aim we identify. Now, in the schools, definitely you already have the material. Only the supplementary material you will have to add in order to help you further to understand that topic easier. So supplementary material you have to add in it. Then what is it? Activities and tasks also you have to add. So those activities and tasks you have to be carefully, according to the learners, selecting that. So in the second paragraph, what we discussed, when we are laying down procedure for a lesson plan, we have to check the material available, we have to check the length of the time, and we need to know about the students, what type of students we have. Right. Now coming towards the sequence. A sequence of lessons is a number of related lessons that develop language knowledge and or language skills over a period of time. sequence of lesson mean it's going to take some time. It's not going to finish in one class. So length of time is required there for the sequence of lessons. Sequence may develop a single topic or language area, or may involve topics or language areas that are very closely connected. So either one topic will be divided in different parts, or different topics will be connected with each other. Sequence can be either way. One lengthy topic, when if it is there, so then you divide that topic in different parts. Or if the topic is not lengthy, then there might be different lessons together. Here are 3 examples. See here, structured sequence, integrated skill sequence, project work sequence. Number 1, structured sequence, revision, past simple. This topic we have not covered last week, right? Malisha? Imasha? Can you all hear me? We have not covered last week? Can somebody answer me?
No.
Gimhani?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. It just came in my mind that this topic I have covered or what? Maybe some other class. That's the thing. Right. Structured sequence. Number 1, now structured sequence, revision, past simple, revision, present perfect, contrast, past simple versus present perfect. All right. That's a structural sequence. In the grammar, we are going to teach that. Now, integrated skill sequence, what it would be for this: vocabulary development, describing places, function describing. Number 2, reading, choosing a holiday. Number 3, writing a letter to a friend, narrating holiday experiences. This is like, for example, to practice of the past simple and present perfect, then definitely you are going to give some kind of, a skill which they have to use out of the reading, writing, and all these. So there you have to give the related where they can use that. So definitely you have to select the task or activity where they can do the practice of revision of that particular area which you are going to do with them. Project work, you may give something to the student to do, prepare by themselves, what it could be. Reading and listening about free time activities. Class survey and research, sports and entertainment. Okay. Preparation of a poster display to show results of survey about the free time activities. Now, like it's all related, they can have a practice of speaking, class survey, which is usually the students mingle together and they find out the information which you ask them to find out from each one. So everyone talk to each, they do the speaking practice and they practice the skills which you have given to them in order to do the particular task. So these are different ways. It's just they have given you an example. You people are already doing in the class. Once a topic is given, then you give some kind of what kind of vocabulary they will need, what tenses they have to use there. Okay, then you give a task. Okay, now practically do this a mingling activity, okay, or pair work or group activity you give to them in order to practice what you have already put there for that particular topic. Key concepts. Planning an individual lesson. Now, for example, we talk about sequence of lessons. Now, planning an individual lesson, how we do it? What's the procedure? When we plan an individual lesson, we ask ourselves a number of questions. Now, different questions we have to ask in order to find out how to plan for the individual lessons. Number 1, what's my overall aim? I'm Aiming what to teach to the student? Number 2, will the topic be interesting and motivating for my learners? It's obvious what you are selecting, whether it's something interesting for them, will it be or not? It continues on next page. What are the learners' learning outcomes? Mean, what do I want the student to have learned by the end of the lesson? Okay. 3, the next one, are the activities teaching material at the right level for all the learners? Now, this is something which you have to see. Are the activities which you have added there or you want to do there, and the teaching material, the books which are available or the tubes which are you supposed to teach, are they at the right level for all the learners? Why? Because all the learners are not in one level. Some have more, some have less knowledge of that topic. So you have to see whether these are suitable for all of them or not. It's not that some students are able to do it and some of them they cannot understand it. So you have to balance that. You have to find something where all the students can be engaged. Have I planned enough for the time available? Do I need any extra material? The time available, what for example, you have whatever the time, 1 hour, 2 hours, so which you have planned, is this enough for it? Or do you need some other material to add in it in order to give some more exercise in that in order to cover the time? So this thing you have to check the timings and the material available. Have I planned too little or too much for the time available? Sometimes you put a lot of activities in that and then it takes time. Sometimes activity doesn't seem that it will end up, but when you know implementation of the activity, when it starts, you are making the student understand how they have to do. It depends. Sometimes it may take time in order to get them to do this. So the time availability, according to that, you have to be careful about it. Sometimes the lessons are left halfway. Why? Because time is not there. So that thing is must. Then what happens? You have to consume some extra time for that. Do the step stages. Okay, no, this one. Does each step or stage in the lesson help to achieve the aim? Are there any stages that I can cut if necessary? This we had discussed in the previous lesson, that you have to see whether all the stages, is it supposed to be followed all, or some of the things you need to remove from it, you know? So that you have to see according to, for example, if the aim of the lessons can be achieved without following certain steps in that. So those steps you might have prepared for a different class. But there is another class which is kind of quite matured in that area. So they may not need all those steps to follow. Why? Because some of the steps they already know. So this plus minus you have to do. Why? Because not to let the learners to get bored with the easy or steps which they already know or they are quite familiar with that. So they will tend to be lazy on doing those ones. So this plus minus you have to do and see accordingly. Next point, do the step stages develop logically out of one another, make learning easier? This we always check in the lesson planning stage, connected with each other in order to achieve the main aim of the lesson. So you have to see that stepwise, like last time I gave you the example of the ladder. the ladder steps which you put in order to reach to the top of the floor, you have to see whether the steps are at an appropriate place so the climber can easily follow it up and reach to the top. The same idea is about the lesson plan. The aim of the lesson you have to achieve. Then you put procedures and activities for that at different stages. You divide the topic in different stages. Because suddenly you don't give at all, okay, it is like at once open it. No, you stepwise take them. So the stepwise, when you are taking them, those stages should be logically connected with each other and should be logically connected in such a way that it should make the learning easier for the students. All right. Have I thought about exact how to start and end the lesson? It's important. Just don't start the lesson without planning it, that how it should be feeling good in the students. A positive attitude from them should come. So you have to find out some kind of thing in order to take the start. Okay, by giving an example, by telling something about the social life or relating to the topic. It depends. In the language, because language is dealing with the social life. So whenever you are teaching language, you can easily quote something from the social life. It depends on the teacher, how much they're socially aware of the social life. So if you are aware and you can relate those activities with your classroom lessons, it would have a very good impact on the children. Right. So where is it? Are there any aspect of the lesson which I should state as personal aims? Personal aims, like something you aspect of the lesson, you put something from your side, a new thing. Let's see if I add this activity, how they respond, the student respond on it, whether it make them more easy for them to understand the topic or not. So that comes in your personal experience as a teacher. All right. Are these questions clear? Any kind of doubt in explaining that? If not, just put a thumb over there. And if there is a question, please ask me. Right.
So, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, if we are making a lesson plan for each study subject, can we make lesson plan according to this pattern?
Yes. Aesthetic subject also you are teaching something. You got it? So what you are teaching, your lesson plan should be based on, okay, today in the aesthetic subject, what you are teaching, what's your topic? In that topic, there is an aim. The student have to learn that. Now, stage-wise, you have to put that what type of activities, what type of things they need to stepwise follow it up in order to easily reach there. You got it?
Yes, sir.
So it is like if in the aesthetic subject, even if you take it into dancing, you take it into the singing, everything they cannot sing something like, a particular tone at once. They need to practice some particular way of that and the sound and all these. So there are steps in everything. These are common for all. This is not why I am giving you the language one, because they have given over the language, but this is the procedure of the lesson planning, and methodology is same for all the subjects. When it comes to the teaching, you have to apply that. Now, even they tell you here that not necessarily whatever they are giving here, exactly that should be applicable on your situation. You can do up and down changing according to your own requirement. So they are giving you a general procedure. So whatever you teach, that's the methodology. All right. So
Got it, sir. Thank you.
yeah, in the end, if you are teaching mathematics, account, aesthetic, language, whatever, your aim is to make the students understand. So lesson plan you are making based on that. So then how you are taking them stepwise that it should be easier for them to understand. So they are laying down the procedure for you here. out of it, you take the general idea with some kind of changes according to the situation you have for your students. You can do that, but it gives you the idea actually. Alright? Plus, for the examination point of view, you have to prepare this what they have given, but practically for your classroom, you have to see, you have to take this vision, and then keeping that in mind, you can adjust according to your own subject. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So next is the answers to these questions will help to ensure that our lesson plan is motivating. Now, you just ask these questions from yourself, and then you see how your lesson plan is motivating, coherent, and the appropriate level. Coherent, if you remember, we had discussed that in the module 1, which is logically connected with coherent and appropriate, suitable for the level. The questions will also help us to think about important components of the plan, such as materials, stages, timings, and how to start and finish the lesson. All right. So this was about planning an individual lesson, how to lay down the procedure. We have to ask certain questions from ourselves before making a procedure for that. Now here they tell you, here are 2 sets of notes from the procedure section of lesson plan. One for a lesson introducing and practicing new language. Now, procedure in the lesson plan, you have to put the procedure, how they're supposed to do it, okay, certain things. So this is taken from the procedure area of the lesson plan, okay. What they say, practicing new language and other for skills. One is for practicing new language, which is lesson number 1, and other for skills-based lesson. What differences can you see in the overall shape of the 2 types of lesson? Now, can you go through it just for 2 minutes, spend a minute on one and other? Here is lesson 1 and lesson 2. Introducing new language and developing reading skills. So it is skill developing, it is the language. You just go through that, 7 steps are there, and try to make up your mind what's the difference in these 2 procedures. 2 minutes only. Is it done? All right. Now we will go down. Although language lessons vary in the sequence of stages, perhaps as in PPP lessons, which was the first, and second is PPP lessons, focusing first on language, or as in TBL lessons, starting with the language in use. These are the 2 main approaches. PPP, they focus on the language presentation. TBL, they start with a kind of activity, which previously in the module 1 we have seen the example of this. Unit 17 is about those. They always include some attention to formal features of language with tasks that will give learners more or less controlled practice of particular structure. So this is the method, like if you remind yourself of the PPP approach and the TBL approach. So in the PPP approach, controlled practice activities we do, where you have this student, they don't have that much free chance of using the language. So they are restricted. That's why we call it restricted activities or controlled practice activities. That particular area of the language they have to focus on. That mostly in the PPP method. But in the TBL method, they start with an activity and they have to use the language a bit freely in that. Just to remind yourself those methods which we have done. Skill-based lessons, however, aim at developing learners' ability in receptive and productive language skills. Skill-based as reading, writing, listening, and speaking. True or receptive, which is reading and listening. True or productive, which is speaking and writing. And rather than focusing on particular language items, they give learners the opportunity to work on specific sub-skills. Though subsidiary aims and their related procedure may well focus on language. Now, when we do the lesson, the skill-based practice, so if you remember, in reading, there are sub-skills. Reading for scanning, reading for global reading, and intensive reading, extensive reading, inferring meaning from the context. Okay, so all these sub-skills, when we do the skill-based practice, we do the practice of these sub-skills mostly. And what is it? Though subsidiary aims and their related procedure may well focus on language, but although if they may focus on language, but in the language you are not going to teach the language, you are going to do the sub-skills when the topic is the skill-based, like reading, writing, and although you are teaching language there, but actually you are teaching the sub-skills of that main skill. Are you getting this point or confused about it?
Got it, sir.
Yeah, like language is almost, it is language, but when it comes to skills, that is also part of language. But inside that, you will be practicing what? Sub-skills of that. That's what the point they are talking. All right, so now we will take a short break, because after this lesson, the next topic which is starting. It is just you people go a bit through that, revise it, because then we are going to start the next topic in the same one, planning a sequence of, no, this we did. Okay, so I'm going to stop this over here, and we are going to talk about planning a sequence of lesson in the unit 21. So after 5 or 10 minutes, we will continue with the next topic. Okay. Is that okay?